This is one of those questions that, it's like MJ versus LeBron,
Okay.
right? Like it's just one of those never ending things. There's never that debate is going to rage as long as there's basketball, right? Or until another player comes along who is in the discussion. And then one of those personal questions for me is whether I would have my favorite team lose in a blowout or lose on like a buzzer beater or a
Got it.
last second field goal or a bottom of the ninth home run or a walk-off home run. Like I always let that clang around in my head because my answer changes depending on the day. And so the Kings embodied that perfectly this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, they played the 76ers and they got smoked. There was never really close. Never a spot in that game where you're going, oh man, they might do this.
No.
The Sixers were just better. But then you get a couple nights later, you get a game in Milwaukee where, all right, hey, tie it in the final seconds. De'Aaron finishes over Giannis. Incredible bucket. You're going to OT. You go up 6 in OT. Oh, you trick it. Dame hits the buzzer beater. It's like, God, it's brutal. And so for me, I look at that and I go, man, I would so much rather lose the way they lost in Philly, where you could chalk it up to, nah, not their night. Versus you look at the game against Milwaukee and you go, man, if you play 20% better defense on Dame at the end, or if you make a free throw,
yeah,
like it's all these like little things that could easily go your way that don't, and it ends in a loss. That's tough.
Okay, so Kyle, if I were a player, I think the Philly game, you just you wash right out, you forget about, you just move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bucks game is a game where you really, really take it to heart because again, De'Aaron Fox and missed one free throw right at the end of the game. But at 18 seconds, Malik Monk missed a pair and totally uncharacteristic. Malik Monk took to Twitter and apologized. Yeah. He apologized to Sacramento fans. This particular team, I normally would say, yeah, one blowout game here and there, that's fine. But this particular team, I'm done with the blowout losses.
Even to Philly?
Stand up. No, okay, yeah, they get blown out to Philly without Joel Embiid, and then they take the Bucks to the wire. They lose in overtime. The Bucks are a great team. Philly's a great team. The Bucks are ahead of the Sixers in the standings. So if you can do it one night, you can do it another night. And for me, this team way too often just mentally is not prepared to play and gets stomped. So at this point, I would much prefer that they start showing that they're learning how to win again. Because the fact that you can beat the Pistons or Charlotte, but again, they've also beat the Nuggets, they've beat the Timberwolves, they've beat the Lakers, they've beat all of these. The Thunder, they beat them twice. They've already beat the Suns twice. The fact that you can beat those teams, the Western Conference teams, that's one thing. But I would have liked to have seen a win against a really, really good Eastern Conference opponent. And if nothing else, I think they walked out of that game saying, okay, maybe we are good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we can hang. Maybe we are one Kevin Huerter hot shooting night away from being legitimately back to who we were.
Yep.
And so I'm okay with the loss, and I hope it stings because you know what? This team is a horrible free throw shooting team, Kyle.
They're very bad.
De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, they're the worst. Get in the gym and hit your free throws. If you got to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. But the fact that you can't hit free throws is a huge problem. Those guys right there, both are underperforming so badly. They're the two best they go to the line more than anyone else on the team. And they can't hit their free throws. I mean, Fox is shooting, 73%? Sabonis is shooting in the 60s. That's not good enough. If you want to be a great team, then do the basics. That's a basic of NBA basketball. So, yeah, you're going to lose games where you don't hit your free throws. And when you're 30th in the league in free throws, free throw percentage, hey, look, you're going to lose close games.
Yep.
That's part of growing up and being a good team is being able to take care of business in those situations. So the second Dame let that ball, it came off his hand. I think everybody watching went, oh, well, they lost that one.
Yeah.
You didn't even defend him. You didn't even step up.
Yeah.
I mean, like Sabonis stood back maybe 3 feet above the 3-point line as a secondary defender.
Yeah.
And that's Damian Lillard. You got to pick him up at half court.
This is not new. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is.
That was wild to me that not only did he get a clean look, but like, look, you deserve to lose that game. You gave that game away. Should have been up 6 with 18 seconds left. Ball game.
And that's especially brutal because you look at the West right now. The Clippers are 2 games up on the Kings.
Yeah.
And then the Kings right now are effectively tied with Dallas and Portland. New Orleans, not Portland. Dallas and New Orleans. And New Orleans is a 7 seed. So every single game that is there for the taking, especially against a good Eastern Conference team, like you have to go get that one.
Yeah.
And that really stinks. I think a silver lining from that game is that you mentioned Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's so clear that not everything that's gone wrong with the Kings this year is because of Kevin Huerter. I'm not putting that all on one player. But it is so clear when you go, man, what's wrong with the Kings offense? It's like, man, you got a guy who's a career 40+% 3-point shooter shooting it like sub 35%.
Yeah.
And when he is connecting, it changes the gravity of their offense. Now all of a sudden the Bucks are scrambling as he runs off his screen. Now other things are open and he's knocking down threes. It's just if he has a normal 2 for 9 kind of night, they lose that game going away.
Oh yeah.
So I think so much hinges on what they're getting out of that shooting guard position. And I think it just kind of underscores everything we've talked about going into the trade deadline. It's like, if you know for a fact you're getting that version of Kevin Huerter night in and night out, where he's, and he scored 26 points and had 10 boards. We're not asking for 26 and 10 from Kevin Huerter every night, but just how effective he was.
Well, it's just how engaged he was.
Yes.
Like the 10 rebounds, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that Harrison Barnes, I think, had 1 rebound again, like it stands out. Like there has to be a way to get these things for a player like him to get something done. Like realistically, I had him as one of my 6 quick thoughts. I had Harrison. And the only reason he was in there is because I didn't want to go back and erase him and put in Trey Lyles. It was too late in the game. Trey Lyles deserved to to be in the 6 quick thoughts way before Harrison Barnes. He ended up with 5 or 6 rebounds, 9 points, but he was a guy in crunch time. That's who you're starting to rely on. So
they should.
Yeah.
I feel like nothing bad ever happens when Trey Lyles is on the court. I know that's probably not the case, but anecdotally in my head, when Trey Lyles is on the court, just good stuff happens, man.
I also think that right now you're seeing the same thing out of Trey Lyles. Out of Alex Len. Every time Alex Len is in the game, like you feel really good about what's happening. I don't know why, because Alex Len is who he is. The fact is, he's always in the right position. You're like, boy, Alex Len is literally in the right position at all times.
I think it's because the Kings are so wobbly this year, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like they're better than they were at this point last year, record-wise, but it's a lot less consistent. It's a lot less stable, right? When Trey Lyles comes in, it feels stable. When Alex Len is in the game, it feels more stable.
Yeah.
And again, maybe that's just me and how I'm confirming my own biases or whatever. But that's really how it feels when those 2 guys in particular are on the court. Harrison Barnes, not so much.
I think it really stood out when every week I do my week in review on the Kings beat, right? And so when I'm doing my week in review, I go through and I recap every game just to make sure that everyone remembers what happened. Every single game this week and probably the week before, there were 4 players. Every single game except for when Huerter stepped up in Milwaukee. But all I talk about is Sabonis, Fox, Murray, and Monk. That's it. They're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse riding through wherever the Kings go.
Sure.
They're the guys.
Yeah.
These other players have to make some sort of impact in a game.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be scoring a bunch of points, but it has to be some sort of impact. And I think Trey Lyles, Alex Len has like a 129 offensive rating and a 110 defensive rating. He's like a plus 19 on this,
golly.
Yeah. Like net rating at this point. He's been incredible all season long. Anytime he plays. I mean, he did have the long stretch where he's out with the ankle injury, But even before that, he had started to play and doing the same exact thing where he's making an impact. So, yeah, Mike Brown's got a lot of tinkering to do, and I'm okay with the tinkering. I know some fans are like, oh, his rotations are horrible. No, they're not.
Yeah, he's figuring it out.
His rotations are great. He's just trying to find guys that want to play that night.
Mm-hmm.
And most nights he's finding like a huge void. Yeah, how many times in the last like 2 weeks has he had a shooting guard score above 20? And it's the one time out of Kevin Huerter. How many times do they even score in double figures?
Almost never.
How many times do they combine for double figures? That's where Mike's at. And